All right, so hi everyone. We will be solving problem 26, page 82 of your book, of your BFIN450 book. All right, so this is problem 26. It says, suppose that you sell short 500 shares of Intel, currently selling for $40 per share, and give your broker $15,000 to establish your margin account. So part A, if you earn no interest on the funds in your margin account, what will be your rate of return after 1 year if Intel stock is selling at I, $44, part 2, $40, and part 3, $36. Assume that Intel pays no dividends. All right, so we'll look at part A. If we're earning no interest on the funds in our margin account, how much will be the rate of return after 1 year if Intel stock is selling after 1 year for, first part, $44? All right, so as always, in part A, we want the rate of return. So rate of return, we have to look at the number of shares that we're dealing with. We're dealing with 500 shares. If we look at it, we sold short 500 shares. We're selling, so it's negative because we're selling the stocks, okay? We're shorting 500 stocks, so minus 500, times, we multiply it by the change in price, all right? So minus the number of stocks because we've sold them, we've shorted them. We multiply it by the change in price, delta P, and we divide this by the initial margin, all right? We gave our broker $15,000 to establish our margin account. So the margin is 15,000. So this is the equation for the rate of return. You can use this for the three cases, for the first, the second, and the third one. So we'll look at the first one. We want to calculate the rate of return if the price of Intel after 1 year is $44. So we just replace the numbers. The rate of return is minus 500 times $4. Why was it $4? Because the stock of Intel is currently right now selling for $40. And in 1 year, it will be selling at 44. So we have an increase from $40 per share right now. And after 1 year, it's selling for 44. So from 40 to 44, we have a $4 increase. So delta P, we replace it by $4 because the price moved from 40 to 44. So a $4 increase, we multiply it by minus 500 because we're selling 500 shares, so minus 500. And we divide it by our initial margin, which was $15,000. So we do that, we get minus 0.133. We multiply that by 100, we get minus 13.33%. That is the rate of return if the price of Intel after 1 year is 44. Now remember, if we're selling the stock and the price increased, like what happened here, we sold 500 shares of Intel, we shorted them, and the price increased from 40 to 44. So when we're selling the stock and the price increased, obviously we're going to have a negative rate of return. So that's why this is negative. For the second part, they told us the price of Intel stock after 1 year is $40. So the price didn't change. We have no change in price. It was 40 today, and it will be 40 1 year from now. So obviously we will replace delta P, the change in price, by 0. Because there was no change in price. It was 40 and it remained 40. So minus 500 times 0 over 15,000, that is 0%. I have no rate of return. The price of the stock was 40. 1 year from now, it didn't change. So I have no profits. The rate of return when the price of Intel dropped to 36. Currently, the stock is selling for $40. 1 year from now, which is part 3 of part A, the Intel stock is selling at $36. So I have a $4 decrease in the price of Intel. It dropped from $40 to $36. So I have a $4 decrease. A $4 decrease is minus $4. Okay? So the new price minus the old price. The new price is 36 minus the old price, which is 40. So 36 minus 40, that is minus 4. So I multiply the change in price by minus 500 because I'm selling these 500 stocks. and I divide the answer by $15,000, which is my initial margin. So I get 0.13, which is 13.33%. That is my rate of return. And obviously, since I shorted these stocks, I've shorted 500 stocks and the price decreased from 40 to 36. When I'm selling the stocks and the price decreases, I will have a profit. And this is what I had here. Now moving on to part B. If the maintenance margin is 25%, how high can Intel's price rise before you get a margin call? We know the formula for the maintenance margin. It's equal to my initial margin plus the proceeds from the sale of the stock minus Q times P over Q times P. This is the formula that we took in class. All right. Now, I know all of these except for P, the price. So I'll replace everything I know and leave one unknown. So I know that my maintenance margin is 0.25. How do I know that? They told me the maintenance margin is 25%. 25% is 0.25. All right. My initial margin, it's in the given. The given says you give your broker $15,000 to establish your margin account. So my initial margin, my initial investment was $15,000. All right. I add to that the proceeds from the sale of the stock. Now, how much money did I get from selling the stock at the beginning? What does it say? We suppose that you sell or you short 500 shares of Intel for $40 per share. So you're selling 500 shares. Each share costs $40. So how much are you getting from the sale of stock? How much is the proceeds from the sale? I'm selling 500 shares, $40 each. So 500 times 40. Okay? So that's 2,000. That's 20,000, sorry. So 500 times 40, that is 20,000. That is the proceeds from the sale of the stock to begin with. And then I subtract QP, Q times P. Now the Q is the quantity, the number of shares that I sold to begin with. I sold 500 shares. So this is 500. The price, I don't know the price. The proceeds I made from the beginning, I sold 500 stocks, $40 per share. But how much? The question is, how high can Intel's price rise before you get a margin call? This is what I want to calculate. So I don't know the price for the margin call. And the same goes for the denominator. The Q, the number of shares, is still 500 because I shorted 500 stocks. The P, I want to figure it out. So I have this equation with only the P as the unknown. So I replace and I cross multiply. So I get the price is $56. What does this mean? This means that when the price of the Intel stock is $56 or higher, when the price reaches $56, I will get a margin call. Okay? So that is part B. As for part C, you're telling us redo parts A and B, but now assume that Intel also has paid a year-end dividend of $1 per share. The prices in part A should be interpreted as ex-dividend, which means prices after the dividend has been paid.